US President-elect Donald Trump has just had his first phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Live to Nine's US correspondent Jonathan Kersley in Florida, Jono, Putin was reportedly given a warning.
The recent phone call between former President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin has drawn attention and raised concerns about the future of the ongoing war in Ukraine. This article will break down the content of their conversation, the reactions it triggered in Ukraine and among its allies, and the larger implications for US foreign policy. Although specific details remain unclear, the early contact between Trump and Putin could set the stage for significant shifts in the US stance on the war in Ukraine. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the US has been a leading supporter of Ukraine, providing extensive military aid, intelligence, and financial assistance. This support has not only bolstered Ukraine's defense, but has also served as a clear message of deterrence to Russia. In his presidential campaign, however, Trump criticized the level of US spending on Ukraine and suggested he would cut down on military and financial support to Kyiv. He repeatedly mentioned wanting to end the war quickly, implying a potential shift in US foreign policy under his leadership that could leave Ukraine vulnerable. Trump's call with Putin came much sooner than many expected, surprising analysts who thought Trump might take a less immediate approach toward rekindling communication with Russia. The Washington Post and Reuters both reported on this unexpected conversation, which took place last Thursday, well before official confirmations were anticipated.
So we knew there was going to be a call at some point between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, given the Kremlin's overtures towards the president-elect at the end of last week, and it seems it has already happened. Both the Washington Post in the US and the Reuters news agency are reporting this call took place. The Washington Post saying it took place on Thursday, much earlier than everyone thought of.
The main focus of the call appears to have been the situation in Ukraine, where the conflict continues with no end in sight. According to sources, Trump advised Putin against escalating the war and reminded him of the significant US military presence in Europe. However, given Trump's previous statements, many are interpreting his words with caution. Some analysts believe that although Trump may oppose a full-scale Russian invasion, his stance on cutting US aid could have a detrimental impact on Ukraine's ability to defend itself. Ukraine and its allies are especially worried. Trump's rhetoric during his campaign suggested he may push for a peace deal, but not necessarily one that favors Ukraine. He has hinted that, under his leadership, the US might limit its military assistance, effectively reducing Ukraine's leverage in negotiations. This could put Ukraine at a severe disadvantage, as it might be forced to make concessions, including potentially ceding parts of its territory currently occupied by Russian forces.
Ukraine is deeply concerned about Donald Trump's stance on the conflict because of what else he said on the campaign trail consistently. Over the last 18 months, he has repeatedly vowed to bring the war to a swift close and has also repeatedly criticized US military spending and aid to Kyiv.
Russia has maintained a clear stance regarding its demands in Ukraine. Putin continues to insist that Ukraine should abandon its ambition to join NATO, and that any peace deal must include Ukraine, ceding 4 territories to Russia. This position reflects Russia's goal to solidify its influence in Ukraine and prevent NATO's presence near its borders. When Putin called Trump brave in response to a recent incident where Trump claimed he had been targeted for an assassination, it raised eyebrows in the diplomatic community. This unexpected compliment from Putin could be seen as an attempt to appeal to Trump's personality, possibly hoping to re-establish a friendly relationship that some referred to as a bromance during Trump's previous presidency. While Trump supporters may see this early outreach as a sign of his eagerness to take on global issues directly, others view it with skepticism. Ukraine is deeply concerned about the possible impact of a Trump-led administration on US-Ukraine relations. Kyiv worries that if the US reduces its support, it will not only face a weakened military position, but also be forced to negotiate on terms favorable to Moscow. This would not only undermine Ukraine's territorial sovereignty, but could also embolden Russia and potentially set a precedent for future conflicts in the region. Additionally, many European countries that share borders with Russia or are in close proximity, such as Poland and the Baltic states, view continued US military support as critical to maintaining stability and security in the region. If the US steps back from its role as a primary backer of Ukraine, these countries could feel more vulnerable to potential Russian aggression. President Joe Biden plans to meet with Trump later this week, and the Ukraine situation will be on the agenda. Biden is expected to urge Trump not to abandon Ukraine if he resumes leadership of the UNS. Although Biden's current administration has maintained strong support for Ukraine, concerns linger about how long this support will last if UNS policy changes. For Biden and the White House, persuading Trump to maintain assistance to Ukraine would be a key diplomatic priority, but it could prove challenging. Trump has repeatedly spoken of prioritizing domestic issues over foreign aid, and his isolationist approach might resonate with Americans fatigued by long-term foreign engagements. However, abandoning Ukraine could have broader implications for UN's alliances and its standing in the international community. The call between Trump and Putin hints at a few possible scenarios for the future of the US-Ukraine relationship and the broader geopolitical landscape. Trump's potential decision to reduce military and financial assistance would significantly impact Ukraine's defense capabilities. Without US aid, Ukraine might struggle to continue its counteroffensive, allowing Russian forces to consolidate their positions. Secondly, if the US cuts support, Ukraine might be forced to enter negotiations on less favorable terms, potentially ceding territories to Russia. Such a peace deal could weaken Ukraine's sovereignty and create a fragile peace that might not last in the long term. Thirdly, should the US lessen its involvement, European countries might step up to fill the gap, though their combined support might not match that of the US. This could lead to strained budgets and divisions within the European Union, as nations debate the level of support they are willing and able to offer. Lastly, a reduction in US involvement in Ukraine might prompt NATO to reconsider its strategies in Eastern Europe. Countries that feel directly threatened by Russia could push for a stronger NATO presence in their territories, potentially escalating tensions in the region. The conversation between Trump and Putin has already sparked intense speculation about the future of the Ukraine conflict and US foreign policy. Trump's call with Putin, alongside his stated desire to reduce US involvement in Ukraine, marks a potential shift in the US approach to the conflict. For Ukraine, this shift could mean a significantly weaker position in negotiations with Russia and a compromised path forward in its quest for sovereignty and peace. While Trump's direct approach to diplomacy could yield unexpected results, the risks of diminishing US support for Ukraine are clear. As Biden prepares to meet with Trump, the hope among Ukraine and its allies is that the US commitment to supporting Ukraine's defense will remain steadfast, ensuring stability in Europe and preserving Ukraine's right to self-determination. The outcomes of this conversation, and any subsequent actions, will be watched closely not only by Ukraine and Russia, but by the global community, as the balance of power hangs in the balance. The recent Trump-Putin call underscores the complexities of global diplomacy and the delicate balance required to maintain peace and stability. How the US proceeds will be pivotal not only for the immediate future of Ukraine, but for the stability of international relations. Will the US maintain its commitment to Ukraine, or will it signal a shift towards a more restrained foreign policy? As history shows, the choices made by global leaders today will reverberate across borders, shaping the future of nations and the lives of millions.